I love this one by Akesi Brimpo. It's called Wonderful. And it's time now for the news review. It's brought to you by Interplast. Wherever you are, we make sure water reaches you even in space. First Atlantic Bank, refreshingly different. Del Cielo Opticals, the vision care expert, and Allianz Insurance, your companion for exploring life. Before I say hi to my friends Enimwa, Malik and Raymond, today there's so much more to expect on the Super Morning Show. We will be joined by the Komla Dumo Foundation. Ekoshi Dumo, his brother, will be joining us to tell us about some of the activities that we'll be having to mark the 5th year of the legend Komla Dumo's death, the 5th year after his death, And today on the Super Morning Show, Prince Kofi Amwadbing will speak on the show. Well, it's an interview he had with KSM where he answered, among others, this key question of who caused the collapse of UT Bank.
When it comes to the closure of the bank, we, as the stakeholders of the bank, should be held responsible for it before the government. And I think I'm the first person people see that a company you created and you superintended is collapsed or whatever, which is true because a lot of things happened to the point where I had to throw in the towel and say I'm retiring.
More of that on the Super Morning Show today, and Enimwa Edimado's new feature, Why Am I Not Enough?, where we hear the stories of women who are being raped and sexually abused by their own husbands. It's a chilling story on an amazing show this morning. You want to stay with us for every moment. But now, it's time for the news review. Good morning, Ray, Malik, and Enimwa.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Too short. Right? But great, yeah.
Well, every weekend is too short, isn't it? Okay, let's begin with the front pages anyway.
Okay, on the front page of The Finder, 2 NACOP operatives interdicted for their alleged involvement in drug trafficking. GCB Bank sacks 56 overqualifications. Landlords risk prosecution for harboring undocumented foreigners. Victims of crash involving Dr. Baumia's convoy are doing well. And Mahama must apologize for lying to diplomats, as according to the government.
The Free Press newspaper, Chiraj yet to invite me. That's Professor Frimpong Boateng. It's the only story on the front page of the Free Press.
Now, today is reporting this morning, plot against GNPC boss exposed. Muslim groups commend government over 2019 Hajj fee, and Mahama is hot. Late Ajaku's family strips him naked. Those are the stories today is represented today.
On the front page of the Daily Guide, Iyoko retrieves 61 million Ghana cedis from tax defaulters. That story about the vice president on the front page as well. Chumbuafo hot over free zones money and confusion in NDC over cash.
The Daily Statesman newspaper, president urges OT Volta regions to develop in peace. MPA to liaise with Navy to fight fuel smugglers. 6 new districts to be inaugurated tomorrow.
Now, the New Crusading Guide is reporting this morning that only Bagbin can attract critical mass of votes for NDC. That's on the front page with UN wades into Ahmed's murder, urges Ghana to ensure justice for murdered journalist, blast Kennedy Japan. And that's on the front page with the very last story you should be interested in. Tension in Jomoro. NDC over Western Region Executive's move to impose parliamentary candidate on the people. Those are the stories the New Crusading Guide is presented this morning.
And on the front page of the Herald, GCB sacks hundreds of workers with only 1 month's salary. Freddie Blay and KK Sapon 10 GNPC into boxing arena over procurement, but Flagstaff House looks on. Ghana Water workers descend on Afenyo marking again, and Bureau of Languages staff caught diverting contracts.
The Ghanaian Observer newspaper has virtually all the stories we have done. One more story. Cocobot floss Opuni Seidu Agongo saves almost $50 million in shady fertilizer deal.
Now, the BNFT is reporting this morning GIJ launches multi-million-dollar endowment fund, and also CD Wars, aviation fuel raise airlines cost, and inflation seen rising to 11%. And you want to know why? This is predominantly due to the weak cedi. That's on the front page of the BNFT this morning.
On the front page of the Gold Street Business, incentives for local industries remain low. That's according to Association of Ghana Industry. Petroleum funds and $15.7 million interest, and Ghana's 4th oil field development plans due next month.
The Daily Graphic newspaper, Yoko saves 9,000 clients from 3 Ponzi schemes. That's the main story on the front page of the Daily Graphic. But the Daily Graphic has a very interesting front page cover today. Official, the new look. They have the new Ghana map on the front page of the graphic as well. So it is official, the new look of Ghana.
Showing the 6 new regions.
Yeah, and we are disappointed. Nigerians in Ghana tell INEC, that's the Independent National Electoral Commission for Nigeria, for postponing presidential poll. But Inchu Dansu says it is a good decision.
Yeah, from good decision to another one that may sound equally good. VIP escapes unhurt in that particular road crash, and ROPA reps begin regional consultation. There's a story about Galamsey destroying 24,000 acre forest, and some being arrested and others being dealt with according to the laws of the Republic of Ghana.
And finally, from me, on the front page of the Chronicle, that story about GNPC being mismanaged on there as well. Mahama lied to diplomats as well. Manasseh apologizes to the IGP, and crybaby Mahama can rave and rant. That's Ebo Kwanzaa's op-ed, which is on page 14 of the Chronicle.
So that's it for the front pages. Malik, Ponzi schemes are back in the news.
Yes, so Yoko says it has saved 9,000 clients from 3 Ponzi schemes. And these Ponzi schemes are Wealth Drive Ghana Limited, Global Coin Help Limited, TACL Market Ghana Limited. These are the companies that, according to Yoko, was operating without licenses, and they also took deposit from 9,000 people and they were not paying. So Yoko made an intervention, and then they have now agreed. These 3 companies have agreed to pay all these 9,000 people their money. Yoko Executive Director KK Amo is the one who is talking to the Daily Graphic, and he says that there are 6 other microfinance companies that the Yoko is going to prosecute, because all of those microfinance companies also acted lawlessly. They breached the regulations that set them up. He says that 61 million Ghana cedis was retrieved from companies and individuals that engage in fraud, and all of that money has been given to the Ghana Education Service, the Scholarship Secretariat, and other state institutions as well. So Yoko doing
some good news there.
Pretty,
so what about the big one, NAM1 and Men's Gold?
They haven't mentioned that one yet.
That's not a question we can answer now. Anyone, but in the banking system still, GCB, how many workers are these?
56. 56. So as of February 12th, 56 staff of GCB have received letters of termination. Well, these letters take immediate effect. They have said that they'll pay them 1 month's basic salary in lieu of notice, and have asked them to hand over everything that they got from the bank. So mobile phones, computers, and all of that. Now, the workers are complaining, and they're complaining because they said that in February 2018, they were made to reapply. Now, those who are still working, that's these 56 who have been sacked, have said that they went through the whole process of reapplying. They undertook medical examinations, and they did everything that was asked of them. They also took a reduction in their salaries, and they were asked to serve a probation of 6 months. Now they've served this probation of 6 months, and now they are being sacked over not having a pass in mathematics and English in the WASSCE. So that's the reason why they're being sacked. They're asking the very obvious question of, if we went through probation and we passed probation, as it were, how come you're now sacking us a few months later over our WASSCE results? So that's what's happening there. Obviously, they're not happy, and we can understand why.
Very, very curious case there, Raymond.
The letter of appointment doesn't make reference to WASSCE results, to be fair. It talks about termination of appointment. We wish to advise with immediate effect your service to the bank will no longer be needed. You will be paid an equivalent of 1 month's basic salary in lieu of notice and collective agreement and other benefits you may be entitled to during your employment, less than any indebtedness to the bank. You are to hand over any company property. And of course, it continues to talk about per this copy. The chief information officer has been advised to block the bank systems and other things.
Okay.
But I mean, so we are clear. Maybe there's something behind it, but it doesn't state the claim.
What's the reason on the letter? Is there one at all?
No, not at all.
There's no reason, but they are saying, and they spoke on condition of anonymity, that this is the reason that they have been given, I guess, off the record.
Okay. Raymond, let's come to you because the vice president was involved in an accident.
Yes, and this happened over the weekend. This is Saturday, and the vice president, according to a statement that was issued immediately by Dr. Gideon Boaku, who speaks for the vice president, said the man was in good health. He had survived that particular incident and has gone through the process that guarantees that he was not even what they call part of the accident. Let's be clear. It was the convoy. So a car in the convoy actually had engaged another car. The car left the stretch was supposed to be on and joined where the vice president's cars were actually heading. So we know that the driver of that car died. The car that came into head-on collision with, yes. So the passenger car's driver died. Some people, including security personnel, were taken to the hospital. So passengers, security personnel were taken to the hospital. As of yesterday, by 10 a.m., all the people who were injured had been treated and discharged. So that's the good news coming from there. But Daniel, this is an accident. It adds up to the many accidents we've had in the course of this year and in the previous years alone. I don't want to bore with plenty statistics. Just that I am, again, with your help, demanding answers from the committee that was tasked to make sure that at least we know how we are going to deal with our accidents going forward. I have not seen any document from them. We've not seen them go to Parliament and seek to make amendments to laws or whichever regime they want to change to make sure we reduce accidents in this country. And so we are clear. Interior Minister Ambrose Derry is on this committee. The Transport Minister, Kwaku Asiamah, is on this committee. Then my good friend, the Roads Minister, and your good friend too, for the record, the Roads Minister.
He has dragged Daniel into this.
Yes, it's also on this committee. So we are pleading with them. We don't want to record more than 2,000 people dying within a year, senseless, needless deaths, and this is lost to our GDP and all of the other things. Families that have to suffer from it. We need them to tell us how we are dealing with this accident matter, because the president put together this committee.
Especially since, according to the Motor Transport and Traffic Directorate of the Ghana Police, an average of 6 people die in road accidents every day in Ghana. And in the year 2018, we did see an increase in the number of road accidents over the year 2017, which is close to 10 months after this committee was set up. So there are still a lot of questions for Mrs. Derry, Amoakwata, and Isiamah to answer. But let's move quickly from road accidents and talk about armed robbery anymore.
Yes, so 2 female passengers were raped this weekend on board a Metro Mass transit bus from Tamale to Tatale. What happened was that they were going on the road and a log was placed in the road along with guns, and they came onto the bus. They took some money and they also dragged 2 women and raped them. That's according to the Finder. That's one story. The other one is court has demanded a report on the suspects. If you remember the story of Reverend David Nabemado, who was killed on a Sunday morning.
Yes.
The guy who did that,
his nephew.
Francis, yes. The court has asked for a psychiatric report to be brought to them. Apparently, Chief Psychiatrist Dr. Akwesi Osei has examined him, and so the next time that they go to court, which is February 28th, that report will be brought so that the case continues and we can get some sort of clarification there about his state of mind. Lastly is a really sad story about a baby that was found in a pit latrine in Sovi EP Basic School in the Pando municipality. So this baby, they could hear a baby crying, well, the children could hear a baby crying for a very long time. They actually didn't say anything, and then later on an older person went into the bathroom. Now this is a pit latrine, and could hear the baby crying. They went to the back of the pit latrine and they found this baby covered in maggots, umbilical cord still attached to the baby, which indicated that the baby had been born not that long ago. They've taken the baby to the hospital. She's responding to treatment and is being taken care of. The Social Welfare Office in that area, that's the Pando area, are appealing to the public, to NGOs and philanthropists and individuals to make some donations to help cater for the baby.
Disturbing, Raymond, especially how every time it has to come down to appeals to the public to make donations to social welfare before these basic things can be done.
And we expect state structures to obviously have these systems working the way they want to work it out. In fact, the most important part is that, I've complained about we breaking down the traditional systems and yet not building a modern system which has institutional state-sponsored structures that can deal with some of these ones. They are under funded. They clearly sometimes have the qualified staff to do it. But what would you want to work in an institution that's not really doing anything and all of that?
So there's no motivation.
Yes, for people who are supposed to function there to get to do.
Remember the Malaysia story where they talked about increasing capacity in their public and civil sectors by matching salaries and making sure that the benefits match multinational companies, and that's how they got the productivity that they needed from those people. I think we should, of course, we have very, very different economic situations than Malaysia, but there is a mindset there that we can borrow. But let's move quickly to Raymond, a welder who has been jailed for 73 years for armed robbery.
Yes, this gentleman was actually the lead in some form of a robbery which happened in 2012. So his accomplices, two of them, were arrested some weeks after that. What they did was, of course, this happened in Josu to Jaben. What they did was, the taxi driver, they hired a taxi from one town to the other. They, in the course of the journey, strangled the man, killed him, took the taxi and took it to do other robberies anyway. And later on, one of them was drunk in the car. So he was arrested and picked up. The other two ran away. This gentleman I'm talking about was caught in 2017. So he had to go through his process alone. And it was established that he was the one who strangled the driver and killed him, and also led the other robberies. So whilst the other got 30 years each for the robbery and participation in that particular act, he got 73 years. I mean, it's punitive, but he's 26. This guy will come out of jail at age 99. Possibly rot in jail. I mean, this is virtually like the life imprisonment anyway. Except to say that when you don't have reformative systems in your prisons, when you don't know what you are doing with death sentence, you're unclear in your mind whether or not you are going to throw this life away and can be reformed for better use. I mean, this is not to say that anything they did was right, but you have a system that makes criminals hardened rather. You have the word recidivism rate that is always on the increase. People go to jail, they come back and they'll go back into the system just that way. So you should be worried about how long you have put people in jail, especially if you don't have reformation in your prisons anyway.
Very important questions there. Malik, to the vigilantism menace that is being looked into now.
So you know that former President Mahama last week met with some diplomats and showed them videos of of violence that happened at the Ayawaso West Wogon by-election. Government has reacted to that. Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah held a press conference at Kofrudia where he said that the former president's action was unfortunate and that he has to apologize for that. He said that two of the three videos that the former president showed were actually not correct, and we know that some of the families have issued rejoinders to that. We know that one of the videos he showed was alleged to be vigilante groups of the MPP dancing at the funeral of the late MP for that constituency, Emmanuel Echakun. Now, it's turned out that that video is not quite correct. That video were police officers dancing at the funeral of a colleague police officer. Kojo Nkrumah points that out, and he says that the government itself is going to meet these same diplomats and point out the falsity in the former president's video and the narrations that accompanied them. Now, still staying with vigilante groups, the moderator of the Presby Church, and I'm talking about Professor J.O.Y. Mante, he says that the politicians must disband all vigilante groups to demonstrate their commitment to peace and to also demonstrate that they are religious people. He says that vigilantism is not godly, and he does not understand why all these politicians who portray themselves as overly religious sometimes are the same people who are sponsoring, recruiting, training, keeping vigilante groups. He says the two can't go together, so the politicians must disband all these groups and demonstrate that they are indeed religious.
Great, I love that word you used, falsity. I love that. Okay, so we are going straight to you, Raymond. Galamseyers have destroyed 24,000 acres of forest.
Yeah, that's it. And this is according to the Interministerial Task Force on Illegal Mining. Of course, they've actually seized 24 excavators. Of course, we also know that and arrested many of these. They are operating in the virgin forest at Debisu in the in the upper Dentra West district of the central region. I mean, the task force during the 2-day operation in the forest reserve actually arrested 13 Chinese, a female and their Ghanaian counterparts in this case. Nearly 24,000 acres of land, including farms, have been destroyed by the activities of these illegal miners. What the people complained about in the areas was that, can you believe, if you actually have a farm anywhere near this area, I don't know what they do. They do the galamsey around your farm, so you have to give it up, regardless of whether you wanted to do so or not. So when they go around your farm, you can't even access your farm in the first place.
Yes.
So it becomes very difficult for you to do so.
And then the chemicals will also pollute your farm.
Of course. I mean, if we are very close to such an environment, and the soil content and all of that is being degraded in that way, you cannot do the farming again. So they have to pay you pittance before they take over the farm and actually continue with that. When they go into the forest, some believe that there are some connivance and collusion from local authorities and also traditional authority in the areas in this case. What is now being done is the investigation in those areas. But immediately people have been arrested, and it shows you that we are still fighting all the illegal things that is happening with Galamsey as we seek to streamline the activities and bring people on board. The last time I heard them talk about this program, we were told that the first 30 have been cleared to go and do the mining. The next batch will be cleared. By the end of this year, we'd have done almost all 900 miners at the small scale level, having back their concession and being retrained to do the jobs that they ought to do properly.
Great. And so we are looking at that one, especially if the question would be asked, of course, whether or not that ban on small scale mining was lifted too early. But then again, there are livelihoods of people too at stake. So that's needed to be looked at. Now, the online news review is where we're going next. Is brought to you by Zenith Bank, in your best interests, and GOIL Good Energy. Now, you need to go light and bank light with Zenith Bank. How? Via Zenith Internet Banking. Use Zenith Bank's upgraded internet banking service to effect instant transfers, view account statements, top up investments, request for checkbooks, block your card, pay bills, and so much more. Sign up for free and bank light with Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank, always in your best interests. Now, it's a new year and it's still good energy with GOIL, your reliable energy partner. Enhancing your engine performance and prolonging the life expectancy of your vehicle should be a top priority. So continue to get the best quality and value for money from GOIL Super XP and Diesel XP, and trusted range of lubricants from our 360 service stations across the country. To all our valued customers, we say thank you. We value our partnership with you. Because of you, we are still #1 and still CIMG Petroleum Company of the Year. Let's continue the partnership to build our economy. GOIL, good energy. GOIL, proudly Ghanaian. GOIL, Yenara Yedia. PrimeNewsGhana.com is where we begin. ROPA Implementation Committee begins regional consultation. ROPA, of course, is Representation of the People's Amendment Act. In simple terms, the law that will allow Ghanaians abroad to vote. The BBC.com says Liberia gold mine collapse. Dozens arrested at lawless rescue site. Al Jazeera.com also talks about the Nigeria election. Disappointment and anger over polls delay. Now, there's a part of this whole election story that I really need to bring to you. You guys know Patrick Obahia-Bong, right?
I thought that was concocted.
There's a message on social media that is being attributed to Patrick Obahia-Bong. He's a senator in Nigeria, for those who may not know. And I'm going to try. And read it. He says, I am maniacally bewildered, overwhelmed and flabbergasted as the paraplegic crinkum crankum that has characterized the latest news about the elections, culminating in an odoriferous saga cum gargantuan gaga. Obahia, you can't the guy. Anyway, so that's it for the news and the online review. The Nigerian election will take place next week, hopefully.
Saturday.
Yeah, next
by the
week,
way, I
Saturday.
read this over and over again. I said it's the only Raymond that can understand this.
I knew that propaganda will come from the video.
Let's not do this. Actually, the future of our dear nation is swimming in a pestilential aqua with disastrous terminus aquam inherently laden with avoidable cataracts, icebergs, and oxbow lakes. It is sardonic and lugubrious and should stop. In simple terms, we don't like it, please stop.
But those sounds more like his words. I mean, actually, he's used them consistently.
He's used this one, Gagantuan Gaga and all of that.
The virtually every single word in there is
something that we know.
Is within his lexicon.
Hey, Patrick Obanya, you'll kill person. Okay, so before we go though, let's say a big thank you to all the parents, all the children who came for the Joy FM Kids Olympics on Saturday. The taekwondo competition was amazing. It was really, really amazing. And the football, of course, we have some future stars coming up. And a very good morning to you, Nia Dote and Na. Thanks for coming over to say hi. There's a lot more coming up on the Super Morning Show. Guys, who do you think should be blamed for the collapse of, let's say, UT Bank? Okay, I won't put you on the spot because that's.
Are you asking us one by one or
no?
Because I have some ideas.
It's okay, Raymond.
Okay.
It's a rhetoric. It's a rhetoric. But this is what Prince Kofi Amoabi thinks.
I blame my board, my partner, some of the shareholders like IFC. We had issues with them between IFC and Holdings Company. Management should take some of the blame. The staff, some of them started colluding and compromising themselves and so on and so forth. And in the long run, what happens is that we had actually failed our company. Then we're at the mercy of the government. Because the government, any government had come in and was doing well, what could they say? They could have touched us. But we had run our company down and therefore we're vulnerable. And therefore the government had to step in as it deems fit to.
That was Prince Kofi Amoabi in his first interview after the banking crisis, his bank's collapse. Right, he was speaking on the KSM show on Metro TV. We'll be bringing you that playback very, very shortly on the Super Morning Show. Of course, before that, we'll be speaking with Koshi Dumor of the Komla Dumor Foundation, brother of the late, great Komla Dumor. And after that, we will be hearing Anywhere's latest feature, Why Am I Not Enough?, as we chronicle the stories of women who are being sexually abused by their own husbands. Full show we have for you today on the Super Morning Show. Stay with us. The BBC News at 7 comes up now.
We all wander through life, wondering how to get to the top. We all aim for the best, striving hard to get to the top. We have speed, excellence, innovation, integrity. Zenith Bank, Zenith Bank, Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Allianz Insurance is 10 years. Hooray! It's been 10 years of dedication to you, our lovely customers. Shiwodia promotion is our way of saying thank you. Now we'll so bed Shiwodia. From now to the end of March 2019, Allianz is making everyone a winner, and it's simple. Insure or renew your motor insurance with Allianz and win instant prizes. No ruffles, no draws. Just insure and win big. From fuel coupons, call cards, branded Allianz souvenirs like key rings, tissue boxes, and many more. That's not all. Allianz Insurance is the only insurance company that offers you 24/7 roadside assistance. Call us today on 0302 764 893 or 0302 764 894 for more details. Allianz, your companion for exploring life.
Good energy powers the things that people do to empower themselves. It fuels families, communities, businesses. Good energy fuels nations. It gets things going and keeps them moving. Good energy isn't just what we do, it's who we are. Goil, good energy.
Jesus, you are wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. Lord, you are wonderful. Wonderful. Wonderful, Lord. Yeah. Wonderful.
Hello and welcome to Newsday on the BBC World Service with me, Shaima Khalil, here in London.
And I'm James Copnell in Abuja, Nigeria. So, will the postponed elections now take place as planned this coming weekend? International observers are doubtful. Among them, Fatoumata Tambajang, former Vice President of the Gambia.
Logistics, operations, and more importantly, we engaging the public so that they can rekindle that euphoria that they had.
We'll also head to Australia to find out about the state actor who has hacked political parties months ahead of elections. We'll also get the latest on the fight against the so-called Islamic State in Syria in their last holdout, and fake news. Social media giants like Facebook are labeled digital gangsters. But can they be controlled? All of that and more stories coming up after the latest world news.
Hello, I'm Neil Nunes with the BBC News. The Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison says 3 major political parties were subjected to a foreign cyber attack earlier this month. Mr. Morrison said Australia's security agencies believed a sophisticated state actor was responsible for the hack, which was uncovered during an investigation into a breach of Parliament's computer systems. Alistair McGibbon is Australia's National Cybersecurity Advisor.
We don't know who is behind this nor their intent. We know what they have affected, and our job at the moment is in securing those networks. We, of course, will continue to work with our friends and colleagues, both here and overseas, to work out who is behind it and hopefully their intent.
Prime Minister Morrison said Australia had acted decisively to protect its national interests and there was no evidence of electoral interference. At least 4 Indian soldiers, including a major, have been killed in a gunfight with rebels in Kashmir. The clash happened in Pulwama district, where 40 troopers were killed by a suicide bomber on Thursday. Sangeeta Maiska has this report.
It was in the early hours of this morning that soldiers and security police sealed off a village in the district of Pulwama. Security forces say they fired warning shots into the air when militants immediately fired back. Since then, the 2 sides have engaged in fierce fighting. The area was the subject of intense searches over the weekend following Thursday's terror attack, which resulted in the single biggest loss of life in the area for 3 decades. The region of Kashmir has been the source of tensions between India and Pakistan since 1947. The 2 nuclear neighbours have fought 3 wars over it.
Some news just in. Pakistan has recalled its High Commissioner from India for consultations. This follows a sharp escalation in the diplomatic tension between the 2 regional rivals following that suicide attack on Indian troops in Kashmir. India has accused Pakistan of being behind the bombing by Islamist militants. The celebrated Nicaraguan poet and revolutionary Ernesto Cardenal has been readmitted to the Roman Catholic priesthood 35 years after he was defrocked. Here's James Reid.
Ernesto Cardenal was a leading advocate of liberation theology, a strand of Catholicism closely aligned with left-wing politics. When the Sandinista revolution triumphed in Nicaragua in 1979, the poet-priest was made Minister of Culture. This led to a public rebuke